Are your phones not ringing like they used to? Do you have too many open slots on your calendar? It sounds like you need Big Bang Marketing, Mike Crow's #1 inspection-generating marketing system for home inspectors. Discover how to systematically generate home inspections again and again. Plus, right now, when you try out the Big Bang Marketing System, you also get a list of other business building bonuses like additional monthly resources, monthly group coaching calls, and 2 bonus tickets to Mike's next in-person home inspector mastermind meeting where you can see firsthand how Mike's own home inspection business operates. So what are you waiting for? Go to coachblueprint.com/go today and transform your business with the power of Big Bang Marketing. That's coachblueprint.com/go.
Hi, this is Mike Crow, and I run a home inspection business. In fact, I've run a couple of home inspection businesses. The true joy for me, though, has been helping literally thousands of home inspectors build really solid home inspection businesses as well. We can help a single-man operation be able to do over $300,000 a year, maybe all the way up to $400,000 a year as a single inspector operation. Even better for me is the 80-plus companies that we have helped be able to build million-dollar home inspection businesses. I would like to help you be able to do the same thing. I want to go over what I consider to be probably one of the most important and one that I repeat on a regular basis, one of the pieces of being successful, one of the steps in knowing that you have to go through to be able to get to where you want to go. Often I run across people that are either what I would call short-sighted or, and I suffer from this one sometimes, is taking a look at things too far out. So for instance, I will tell you that at one point I used to see a year out and then 3 years out and then 5 years out. And then I started telling people for the longest time I saw 20 years out. And then just within the last several years, I've started telling people I see 100 years out. And of course, people will go, you won't be here in 100 years. And I go, you're absolutely correct. But if I'm lucky, hopefully my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids and other people, from my lineage, hopefully will be here in 100 years. What do I want their lives, how do I want their lives to be maybe impacted by what I'm doing today? The challenge with that, of course, is that if you're always looking that far out, that you could literally fall into the manhole cover, that's missing, fall into the manhole where the cover's missing right now on the way to that, and of course break a leg and never, of course, even get close to that. One of the things that I've discovered is that, though, being too short-sighted is you stand there looking at the manhole with the manhole cover missing, and you panic about that, and you see that, and you look at that, and you focus way too much on that. And while you're focusing on that, along comes a bus and just whacks you out of the whole process altogether. You've got to learn to be able to balance out this short-term vision versus this long-term vision. And one of the things that I tell people is it really comes down to one simple phrase: striving for progress, but not perfection. I've got to be looking at where I want to go, but not necessarily all the way, all the time. Now, I've got to look at that, and I've got to put that on paper, and I've got to plan for it, but I don't want to be looking at just next week. In fact, this is one of the biggest mistakes I used to watch in the corporate world. As a manager would come in, and to make himself look good, he would run all the machinery 24 hours a day, and he would be making all kinds of great progress, but then machines would start breaking and things would start failing because there was no maintenance, there was no process for replacing that stuff. The other challenge, of course, is that this guy sees this out here, and he doesn't take advantage of the short term either. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things. Striving for progress, not perfection. It's kind of funny. When I was a young man, used to have my car, and I don't know if it was my dad that got in or somebody else that got in, and they got in, and the floorboards was just full of, fast food bags, McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and all that great stuff. And I said, oh, don't worry about it, and they're going, I'm not worried about it, I'm worried about me. And one of the things I realized was that I was not doing very good at that. And of course, taking time to clean my whole car would have taken half a day at that point because it was such a mess, right? Well, one of the things I discovered was somebody taught me something simple. A bag a day. Hey, Mike, every time you get fast food, get rid of 2 bags. Every time you get some gas, get rid of 2 bags. Okay? So you got 1, you now get rid of 2. And before I knew it, within just a week or 2, my whole car was all cleaned out and everything. And now when I get gas, I turn it on, I tell it to pump, and I wash the windshield. I look through, see if there's anything I need to throw away, and get rid of it. So in that case, it was a bag a day. Recently, and I say recently, within the last 5-10 years, when you get my age, everything's recent, by the way. But recently, I was working with somebody, and they didn't have the time to get totally moved in. We moved from our old office to this office, and their office was just full of boxes. And I said, here's the thing is, a box a day. Could you get rid of 1 box a day? Well, yeah, I can get rid of 1 box today. Great. And tomorrow, get rid of 1 box. And within 30 days, all of a sudden, most, if not all, the boxes were gone. Their office was looking great. And honestly, I did the same thing to my office. Same kind of thing as with the trash. Making that progress can be very, very powerful. And I will tell you, it's so powerful because some days you finish the day and you just realize you're not getting done what you want to get done out here. And one of the things I like to say at the end of the day is, we made progress today. I try to make sure at the end of every day, we made progress today. And if I can't say that, I go, what's the one thing? What's one thing I could do today? 1 box, 1 bag, what's one thing I could do today? 1 phone call, so that I can say, I'm making progress today. And what I want you to think about is striving for progress, not perfection. Because honestly, you're never going to be perfect. It just isn't going to happen. And if you're trying to be perfect, you're never going to get there because you won't make the progress you need to on a daily basis. So at the end of the day, hopefully you can say, hey, I'm making some progress today. Hey, we made progress today. And especially those days where everything seems to go wrong, everything seems to want to fall apart, everybody wants a piece of me, okay? At the end of the day, if I get home and I'm looking at Susan and she goes, how was your day? And I said, well, we made progress today, you know? And that's a big part of it. So striving for progress, not perfection. My son has this great t-shirt, and it's this guy coloring this word, and he's making it absolutely perfect. And the word is perfection. And the P is perfect. And the E is perfect. And the R is perfect. And then he's sitting on a stool, dead, skeleton, because he died because he never finished the process. So progress, not perfection. Now, once you understand that, we can move on to some of the other pieces, because a lot of times what we run into is that people do not understand that there are different levels that you have to go through. I actually created in the business, when I'm teaching people to be a home inspector, or I'm teaching people to be a coach, or I'm teaching people how to build their family, right? You, your family, your business, an inspector, everybody, a speaker, all goes through what I like to call the W. And we can talk about that more later. But there's 4 pieces right now that I kind of want to go through that are more like stackables. Because when you first start in business, man, you're just trying to survive. So I call this one moving from survival to significance. Moving from survival to significance. And when we're new in the business, we're all in survival mode. And then at significance, at that level, we are motivated and we're able to help others. In fact, you've heard me talk about beware the 95%. In the 95%, they're almost always in survival mode. And the 1%, they're almost always helping other people be successful as well. It's such an incredible, good feeling when you know when you're in that 1%, when you're in significance, when you're at that point of excellence, that you can help other people be successful as well. So I want to go through each level though, because I haven't talked about the two middle levels. So there's survival. Survival means getting up every day and doing what you have to do even when you don't want to do it. By the way, that's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs, well, they decide not to do things some days because it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel good. It just isn't going to make them any money. Whatever excuse they want to make. Professionals, on the other hand, do it even when they're sick, even when it hurts, even when it costs them money, even when it doesn't feel good, but they know it's the right thing. All right? So amateurs, professionals, survival to significance. And in survival mode, one of the things that I try to tell people is that, for instance, when you're starting the business, you have two jobs, not one, you have two jobs. See, if you were working for somebody else, you have one job. You do that job, and then you do it really well, and then you go home and you're done. But people that work with me, for instance, I try to teach them that they have two jobs. They have this job, and then the question is, how do we take our company and move it to the next level? What are we doing extra? And it's kind of like that other part, okay, where you're striving for progress, not perfection, but you get the progress done, and if you don't have the real progress done, what's one thing you can do to move towards that perfection? So you're in survival mode. What are you going to do to move towards the next level? And the next level up, by the way, is stability. Stability, so that when you wake up, you're not worried about somebody taking your car away. You're not worried about somebody taking your house away. You're not worried about losing your wife. You're not worried about the phone ringing in your business. So in survival mode, like I said, you really have two parts. The one is doing the job. If you're a home inspector, it's doing the home inspection. If you're a speaker, it's doing the speaking. If you're a coach, it's coaching, okay? And trying to help somebody else. But the second part of that job that nobody talks about is booking home inspections, making sure the phone rings, making sure that somebody wants to use you a second time. So not only are you doing the inspections, but you're also doing what makes that possible. You're not only doing speaking, but you've got the time on the phone where you're calling, or letters or emails or a podcast or something you're doing that makes it so that other people want you for your basic service. And so it's an incredibly important part in that. And once you get those two pieces together, they actually start blending together. And you get to a point where you're stable. You know when you get up that day, the phone's going to ring. You know it's going to ring. Because you've done the marketing, because you've done the pieces. And now all you have to do is answer the phone, book the inspection, or book the speaking, or book the appointment with your next client. That's stability. And at the point where you really start understanding that every day, every year, that's pretty much a given, now you've really kind of moved up to that next level, which is success. And by the way, you know you've hit success a lot of times when people ask you to speak about what you've done and how you did it. Every conference I go to, it never fails. And the last conference I went to was no exception. Somebody pulled me aside and said, Mike, I just want you to know I am successful because I followed your advice on this and this and this and this and this. And now I'm here, and now I don't worry about anything because I'm in this level of success in my world. You know, I have this wonderful opportunity where I go see my dad on a regular basis. By the time you hear this, my dad might not be with us anymore. That's okay. But one of the things that we talked about with my dad was how we're going to finish strong. We're going to make sure that we finish strong. And that's the same as going from that, striving for progress and then to perfection. And right honestly, now my dad is at that level of perfection in his life. He didn't have to worry about money. He's stable. He didn't have to worry about being successful. He's already been there. And now, honestly, what me and my dad talk about is how we are going to be significant. Not only just for, the next year or 3 years or 5 years, not even the next 20 years, which most people never even think that far out, but the next 100 years. And me and my dad have those conversations every single day right now. What are we doing right now so that 100 years from now, our family won't have to go through the survival mode as tough as we did? Now, here's the fun part, is as you're raising kids or grandkids, you want them to go through survival mode on something, whether it's mowing the yard, or whether it's homework, or whether it's it being in the band or on the football team or something, robotics. I don't care what it is. They need to go through something that creates that survival instinct. Because when they create that, then they can go to stability. And then once they understand that this created the platform for stability, then they can go to success. My youngest son came to me at one point, and he went through survival mode pretty tough. And then he got to stability. And he came back at one point, he said, "Dad, I just want to tell you thank you, because what you taught me in survival mode helped me get to stability, and now I'm at success because I have all these skill sets that I learned from you here to be able to get to that." And the fun thing is right now, he's now helping other people, and so he's now playing in that row of significance, okay? So what are you going to do to make sure that you're in survival mode? Like I said earlier, you've got two jobs. One is figure out how to do a great inspection if you're an inspector, how to be a great speaker or a coach if that's what you do. But if you're a dentist, it's the same thing. How are you going to become a great dentist? And we're going to write all that. But that's just survival mode. And then working towards stability is making sure that the marketing and making sure that the management and all those parts are there as well, and you start blending those two. You have two jobs, not just being a dentist, not just being an inspector, not just being whatever it is that you do, a speaker or whatever, okay? You've got to make sure that you take it and move it to that next level by supporting it with the pieces over here, the marketing, the management, the standards of practice, the SOPs as people like to call them, okay? The systems. That's what creates that stability. And then once you have the survival or the service down or the product down, then you move into getting stability. Then once that is in place and you've got your SOPs and you understand what's going to happen there every day. And by the way, here's the cool thing is you get to hire people at a certain point because your company is doing well. You get to hire people to create that stability and make sure that it stays in place. Then you move towards success. And basically you hire someone else and they go do all this stuff that's already written down, already there for them. And they understand what is expected of them in that process. And then as you're sitting there, I'll still remember the day that me and my mom and dad were sitting at a Mexican food restaurant, and I was just kind of staring out through the window, and it was pouring down rain. It was pouring down rain. And my dad said, what are you thinking about? And I said, I was just thinking how blessed we are because we worked through survival. We worked through stability. We're at success. But honestly, right now, we're sitting here able to enjoy lunch because we have 6 inspectors out there who we have helped them also go through survival, stability, and now they're being successful. But honestly, they're out there today, you know, even though it's raining, taking care of the business, and I get to sit here today with my mom and dad, okay, and have a great Mexican lunch. Significance can give you so many blessings, give you so many opportunities. That significance, though, comes when you help other people go through the survival and the stability, the success, get to success, and then hopefully maybe you could help them to get to significance as well. Even as our company's growing and we're now a multi-million-dollar company, we're having other people that are managers in the company, and they are playing at that level of significance so they can help other people go to that next level as well. So those are some of the most important parts. You know, a couple of those major things that I want to make sure that you understand. And again, one was the, you know, making progress, make progress every day, and try or strive for progress every day instead of perfection, because perfection, you know, you're not ever going to get there. What you can get to, though, is significance. And you have to go through survival, stability, success to get to significance. Well, I hope that helps, and feel free to ask questions on that, because I love talking about these subjects specifically, because they make such a huge difference in how you do everything, how you plan everything so that you can get to that. Thanks. I'll talk to you again soon.